Cruz, I know you're limited time here. Thanks very much for joining us. How are you today, sir?
Rush, I'm doing terrific, and it is always a real privilege and honor to join you.
Well, I'm glad to have you here. There's a big argument. Let's just cut to the chase here on Obamacare. The arguments are delay it, defund it. You're part of the defund it side. You think it can happen via the continuing resolution debate the end of September. The delay crowd and the people opposed to this, no, the government shutdown's part of this. And look what happened the last time the government was shut down in 95. Look what happened to Republicans then. How do you deal with this? What do you tell people that raise these objections?
Well, part of the problem with the delay crowd is they don't have a plan to actually get it done. When they say they want to delay it, what they really mean is they want to take a symbolic vote on a delay, but not tie it to anything that has to pass. So the House can take 1,000 symbolic votes if they want. Harry Reid will not allow any of them to pass into law. So it becomes an exercise of just political cover rather than actually fixing the problem. Look, Rush, Obamacare, as you know, is the biggest job killer in the country, and the wheels are falling off of this thing. I mean, there is bipartisan agreement. It's not working. The unions are jumping ship. People are losing their jobs. They're having their hours forcibly reduced. Just last week, UPS told 18,000 employees, you're losing your spousal coverage. Your husband and wives are losing their health insurance because of Obamacare. And unfortunately right now, Republicans are still not ready to stand up and do what it takes to stop this law, to listen to the American people and say, listen, let's get rid of this job killer. And the only plan that has been put forward that has any realistic prospect of success, of actually stopping Obamacare, is using the continuing resolution on September 30th and saying, we will not fund one penny of Obamacare. If we can get 41 Republicans in the Senate to do that, or 218 Republicans in the House, we have the votes to do it. But we got to get those votes, and right now, far too many Republicans are scared of this fight.
Now, I have people I know who are on the delay side, and they say they have sent me notes. What are you doing supporting this defund business? Don't you know that's nothing but a fundraising effort? Those people don't stand a prayer of accomplishing what they want to accomplish. It's just another division in the Republican Party. It's really kind of disappointing that we can't even come to some sort of unified purpose on something as radical as this.
Listen, I agree that the division in the Republican Party is unfortunate and it's disappointing. For months, Mike Lee and I and others have been pressing, saying, okay, what is your plan to stop Obamacare? And for months, the answer has been crickets, has been, well, we want to take lots of symbolic votes, but we're not going to do anything to actually stop it. And as you know, the exchanges are going to be up and running shortly. On January 1st, the subsidies are scheduled to kick in. And President Obama's strategy is very simple. He wants to get as many Americans as possible addicted to the subsidies, addicted to the sugar, because he knows that in modern times, no major entitlement has ever been implemented and then unwound.
That's right. He gets as many people signed up to those exchanges as possible. It makes it all that much more difficult to take it away from them.
That's exactly right.
The IRS came out with their schedule of fines, and this is another thing. I mean, the first year, the fine is $95 or 1% of your income, whichever's greater. I don't care which one you go for. You're nowhere near the price of an insurance policy. You're going to have more people choosing the fines, and what's that going to do to the insurance business? They're not going to be selling policies. They're going to go out of business, and that's part of the design of this, too.
That's exactly the intent, is to destroy the private insurance business, to cause people to lose their private health insurance and be forced essentially to move to single-payer, government-provided health insurance, which was Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama's plan from day one. And the Republicans who are saying we can't win this fight, they don't have an alternative strategy. And you know, Rush, you lose 100% of the fights that you begin with by surrendering. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If the Republicans all say we cannot win this fight, then they will prove themselves eventually right.
How much of that, though, is Republicans not even wanting to engage in it, and they just offer that as an excuse? I mean, really, because this budget shutdown argument, the government shutdown argument, if you go back to 1995, and I know this has become somewhat cliched, I mean, the only place that the Republicans suffered really great damage was in the media.
Yep.
But in reality, the Republican Party gained a couple seats in the Senate after that shutdown, didn't lose all that many in the House, but they were able to set the stage for policy advances that came later, such as welfare reform. You've got Senator McCain, a story today, said that this divide on this effort to defund Obamacare means that it's time to have an open and honest debate about the future of the whole party. We got to sit down and figure out just who we are, where we are, and where we're going. What about this shutdown business? What are your thoughts on the real dangers of that, and if it would happen, could it really happen? Would it be taken that far?
I think you're exactly right about the history of 1995, that there was some short-term political pain, but at the same time, because Republicans stood together, we saw year after year of balanced budgets, which never would have happened if Republicans had folded like they're trying to fold right now. And listen, I think what should happen, the House should pass a continuing resolution. It should fund every bit of the federal government except Obamacare. It should explicitly prohibit any funding, federal funding, discretionary or mandatory, for Obamacare. And then if President Obama threatens to shut down the federal government, he may well try to do that. If that happens, we got to stand up and do something we haven't done in a long time. Win the argument. Say, listen, we have voted to fund the government. We want to keep the government open. Why is President Obama threatening to shut it down? He's granted waivers to giant corporations. Why is President Obama threatening to shut the federal government down in order to deny those same waivers to hardworking American families?
Well, you got a lot of Republicans who think they'll never be able to sell that because it's going to be the media saying you shut it down.
Well, look, the mainstream media will all read word for word the talking points from the White House. But the beauty between cable and Fox News and Rush, between you, between talk radio, between the Internet, we can get the message out. But let me concede one thing right now, which is if the ordinary rules of Washington apply, we can't win this fight. We can't get 41 Republicans or 218 Republicans in the House. The only way we will be able to win this fight is if we see a grassroots tsunami. There is a national website, don'tfundit.com, don'tfundit.com. In just a few weeks, we have gotten 725,000 signatures from all across this country. You know, 2 nights ago, I was on Hannity's TV show, and within 24 hours of going on that show, we had 100,000 signatures added to that list. What I would say to every one of your listeners is if you're fed up with politicians not listening to the people, if you're fed up with politicians not having the courage to stand up and fight Obamacare, go to don'tfundit.com, sign the petition, pick up the phone, call your representative, call your senator, put Facebook comments on their Facebook pages, and get 10 of your friends to do the same. You know, I feel confident, given your leadership, given the passion of the American people, that we can break 1 million signatures on this list. If we get 1 million and then 2 million and then 3 million Americans standing up, holding our elected officials accountable, that's how we change the rules. That's how we get 41 Republicans in the Senate, and that's eventually how we get Democrats and actually stop this train wreck that is Obamacare.
Now, what is it don'tfundit.com?
Don'tfundit.com.
Is there an apostrophe in don't?
There is no apostrophe.
No apostrophe in don'tfundit.com. Okay. Now, we have a history here of shutting down websites. I have no doubt that this is going to be shut down for a while because you're going to have millions of people going there to check it out. So you're going to get some more signatures, Senator, out of this. Don'tfundit.com without an apostrophe in don't. Now, one last thing before you have to go. It's not really related to this, but it's related to the Republican attitude. Last night on the Fox Business Report with Lou Dobbs, a Democrat consultant named Marianne Marsh, they were talking about Syria and whether or not the president should have to go through Congress, like they demanded Bush do it. Marianne Marsh said, no, this is a special Congress we're dealing with right now. These people have the lowest popularity rating in history. The Republicans oppose what we're trying to do. The president can't be handcuffed by these same Republicans that are holding the country hostage on every other thing. Why should we have to go through them? This is an imperial presidency. You've got a consultant speaking for a president. Who needs Congress? They don't agree with us, so we're going to bypass them. But what strikes me, Senator, about that is you've got the Republicans who are doing everything they can right now to make the Democrats love them. They're talking amnesty. They're talking whatever their Democrats say they have to do. The Republicans are doing it. Look what it's getting them. They're I think they're respected less than they have been in my lifetime right now.
Russia.
So I don't know, why not just stand up and fight them? Because going along with them is not getting anywhere.
You are exactly right. This has been an imperial presidency. It has been a lawless presidency. You look at what's going on in Syria right now. In the UK, they're having an emergency session of Parliament to consider Syria. In Israel, the Knesset is meeting an emergency session. And yet, President Obama apparently wants to go to the UN, but can't be bothered to go to the United States Congress or the American people and make the case. Look, the authority to declare war rests in Congress, not in an out-of-control president. And, I thought it was striking, actually, a comment Dennis Kucinich made, of all people, that I agreed with, which is he said, I wonder if President Obama realizes that he is acting as al-Qaeda's Air Force right now. The idea that we would be arming rebels, many of which are affiliated with al-Qaeda. Of the 9 rebel groups, up to 7 of them may have affiliations with al-Qaeda. Doesn't make any sense. And President Obama is not looking to U.S. national security. Instead,
from their standpoint, arming al-Qaeda is a greater danger. I mean, is a lesser danger than agreeing with the Republicans on anything.
And fundamentally, actually, these two issues, you look at Syria, you look at Obamacare, and they're tied together. They're tied together by an arrogance of this administration that they don't believe they're accountable to the American people, and they are going to jam their agenda down the throats of the American people. And on both of them, the answer, it's the same as it was on guns. It's the same as it is on stopping amnesty, which is the American people have to rise up and hold every elected official accountable, Democrat and Republican, every one of us, including me.
Well, you're right, but the American people ought to have a political party that's willing to stand up and join them in stopping this, too. And right now, they don't think they do. They've got you, they got Mike Lee, a couple of 3 others. Everybody else they see is caving.
Well, I agree, and sadly, right now, the people who are leading the fight to stop the effort to defund Obamacare are Republicans. It's not Democrats. That's a sad state of affairs. I hope it changes. I hope the Republicans stop trying to prevent us from defunding Obamacare, and instead we come together. And the only way they will is if millions of Americans go to don'tfundit.com, speak up, and demand that our elected officials listen to the people.
Senator Ted Cruz, he had to be out by 2:22, and you're out, sir. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to the next time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rush.
You bet. Don'tfundit.com. Now, remember, it's the Internet, so there's no apostrophe in don't. So think of it as don't. Don'tfundit.com. No apostrophe in don't. And if you go there and you like what you see, maybe you sign it. Thanks to Senator Ted Cruz. The website Senator Cruz spoke about, you can get there at don'tfundit.com. That is an alias. The actual name of the website is don'tfundobamacare.com. That's the full-length name. Don'tfundit.com is an alias. I tried don'tfundit.com. I didn't get in because I shut it down. Tried back a little later at don'tfundobamacare.com and did get in. But I think we had generated something like 15,000 signatures during his interview, before his interview was even over. So if you're having trouble at don'tfundit.com, try don'tfundobamacare.com. But if you don't get in, it's not been shut down. It has been overloaded. And you should keep trying. Just because you can't get in doesn't mean it's damaged. It's just being overloaded now. So keep trying. I mean, I did get in when I tried don'tfundobamacare.com. But don'tfundit.com works. That's an alias.